Your emotions are like waves. They rise, they crash, and they disappear. But your spirit is the anchor that never moves. Some of you listening right now have made decisions out of emotion, and you are still paying for them today. You left the relationship because you were angry. You quit the job because you were offended. You walked away from your destiny because your feelings told you to. But I came to tell you something life-changing today. Your emotions can lie, but your spirit will never lie to you because your spirit is connected to truth. The greatest discovery in life is self-discovery, and you cannot discover yourself through your emotions. You discover yourself through your spirit. Emotions are like visitors that come to your heart, knock loudly, and demand your attention. They come suddenly and often leave just as fast. Yet we build whole decisions on their fleeting presence. You feel excited today and hopeless tomorrow. You love deeply 1 hour and question everything the next. That's because emotions are temporary. They are not built to guide your destiny. They are built to make you aware of your humanity. But your spirit, that quiet, steady voice inside you, is eternal. It doesn't shout. It speaks truth that never changes, even when your emotions are in chaos. Think about how many people have destroyed something precious because of a moment of emotion. A man in anger says something that ends a relationship. A woman in fear walks away from an opportunity that could have changed her life. How many of us have quit something beautiful because our emotions lied to us and said, "You can't handle this"? Emotions react to the moment, but your spirit responds to meaning. The spirit sees beyond what you feel now and into what you are becoming. Emotions are like waves on the ocean. They move constantly, unpredictable and unstable. You cannot build your house on a wave. You must build it on a rock. That rock is your spirit, the unshakable, eternal foundation within you. When life hits, your emotions will want to pull you in every direction. You'll feel joy, sadness, fear, excitement, anger, and peace, sometimes all in the same day. But your spirit stays still, grounded, connected to something higher than circumstances. That's why people who live by emotion are always exhausted, because they're constantly reacting, constantly changing course. One moment they're confident, the next they're broken. They let emotions steer the ship, and when the storm comes, they drown in the waves they were meant to rise above. The truth is, emotions make wonderful servants, but terrible masters. They are designed to inform you, not control you. When you let your emotions run your life, you hand them the pen to write your story, and they'll write in erasable ink. How many decisions have you made that you later regretted because you felt something so strongly in the moment? You said yes when you should have waited. You said no when you should have stayed open. You reacted instead of reflecting. That's because emotions don't ask for permission. They demand reaction. But your spirit doesn't demand, it directs. Imagine a thermostat and a thermometer. A thermometer only tells you the temperature. It reacts to the environment. But a thermostat sets the temperature. It controls the environment. Emotions are like thermometers. They reflect what's happening around you. But your spirit is the thermostat. It sets the atmosphere inside you no matter what's happening outside. When the spirit is in charge, you can walk through storms and still feel peace. You can face rejection and still have confidence. You can be surrounded by negativity and still carry light. Emotions are tied to the flesh. The spirit is tied to truth. That's why emotions can shift depending on what you see, hear, or experience. If someone compliments you, your emotions rise. If someone criticizes you, they fall. If you have money in your account, you feel secure. If you don't, you panic. But your spirit isn't moved by external evidence. Your spirit knows who you are regardless of conditions. It's the voice that says, even when I don't see it, I know something greater is working. It's the quiet reminder that peace doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. In relationships, emotions often lead us into trouble. You feel chemistry, excitement, affection, and you assume that means destiny. But emotions can't see the future. They only see the moment. That's why so many fall in love quickly and fall out just as fast. Love built on emotion fades. Love built on spirit endures. Because emotion says, I love how you make me feel. But the spirit says, I love who you are becoming. Emotion attaches to comfort. Spirit attaches to purpose. Even in business or career, emotions can mislead. You feel tired and quit a job you prayed for. You feel offended and break a partnership that could have blessed your future. You feel impatient and rush into opportunities not meant for you. But when your spirit leads, you don't chase feelings. You chase purpose. You wait when it's time to wait. You move when peace gives the green light. You learn to discern the difference between emotional impulse and spiritual instruction. The reason emotions are temporary is because they are designed to signal what's happening inside you, not define who you are. Feeling fear doesn't make you weak. It makes you aware. Feeling anger doesn't make you bad. It makes you conscious of boundaries being crossed. But when you let fear make your decisions or anger define your character, that's when emotion has replaced spirit. Your spirit, when tuned correctly, takes that emotional energy and channels it toward growth instead of destruction. In life, you must learn the discipline of pause. Before reacting, pause. Before speaking in anger, pause. Before walking away, pause. In that pause, your spirit speaks, and it always speaks with clarity. The spirit doesn't panic, it guides. It doesn't rush, it reassures. It doesn't shout, it whispers. That's why emotional people often miss divine direction, because the noise of feelings drowns out the wisdom of truth. Silence your emotions long enough to hear the still voice of your spirit, and you'll never walk in confusion again. Emotions are like clouds, they pass. The spirit is like the sky, it remains. You are not your feelings, you are the awareness behind them. So when emotions rise like waves, let them rise, but don't let them drive. Let your spirit hold the wheel. Because when you live from your spirit, you live from stability, peace, and wisdom, not reaction, confusion, and regret. Your emotions are built from the memories of your past. Every experience you've ever had, every hurt, every disappointment, every success, every failure, your emotions recorded it all. They are like files stored in the hard drive of your mind, waiting to play again whenever something familiar happens. That's why sometimes when a new opportunity shows up, your emotions don't celebrate it, they fear it. Because they remember the last time something looked similar and you got hurt. They remember when you trusted someone and got betrayed, when you tried and failed, when you believed and were disappointed. So your emotions react not to the present moment, but to a memory of the past. But your spirit doesn't live in the past, it lives in your future. Your spirit carries vision, destiny, and divine insight that your emotions cannot comprehend. Many people don't realize that their emotional reactions are echoes of what has already happened, not reflections of what is happening. You might feel anxious walking into a new relationship, not because the person is untrustworthy, but because your emotions remember the pain of someone who once broke your heart. You might resist a new opportunity, not because it's dangerous, but because your emotions remember the fear of failing before. That's why if you only listen to your emotions, you will keep repeating cycles. You will keep attracting the same kind of pain, the same kind of people, the same kind of patterns, because emotions are wired to protect you from what was not, guide you into what will be. Your spirit, on the other hand, is connected to purpose. It doesn't see from where you've been. It sees from where you're going. Your spirit doesn't care about your past failures. It cares about your potential. It doesn't speak fear. It speaks faith. It doesn't remind you of who hurt you. It reminds you of who you're meant to become. That's why there's a battle inside every human being between emotion and spirit. Emotion says, stay safe. Spirit says, step out. Emotion says, don't trust again. Spirit says, love again. Emotion says, you've been here before. Spirit says, this time will be different because you're different. Look at your life right now. How many decisions have you delayed because of emotions that were shaped by your past? You felt nervous, so you didn't speak up. You felt afraid, so you didn't apply. You felt unworthy, so you didn't try. But here's the truth. Those feelings are not reality. They're residue. They're leftover emotions from experiences that your spirit already outgrew. Your spirit knows you're stronger now. It knows that the past cannot define you unless you let it. The spirit always speaks from a place of completion. It talks to the version of you that has already overcome. That's why when your spirit speaks, it feels like encouragement rising out of nowhere. It's that inner whisper that says, you can handle this. You've got more in you. Emotions don't evolve unless you renew your mind. If you don't transform the way you think, your emotions will always keep you tied to yesterday. That's why people keep reliving the same emotional story in different settings. Different faces, same pain. Different jobs, same frustration. Different seasons, same fear. The emotions replay what you never healed. The spirit, however, leads you to confront, heal, and transcend those emotional memories. Your spirit doesn't erase your past, it redeems it. It takes what was meant to break you and turns it into wisdom. It takes what once triggered you and turns it into strength. Think of it like this: emotions are the passengers in your car, but your spirit should be the driver. When your emotions drive, they'll turn around every time the road reminds them of an old accident. They'll take detours, avoid highways, and keep you stuck in the same small radius of comfort. But when your spirit drives, it doesn't ignore the passengers. It acknowledges them, but it stays focused on the destination. Your spirit says, I understand you're afraid, but we're going anyway. I know you're nervous, but this road leads to growth. I hear your fear, but I also hear destiny calling. Sometimes the reason your life feels stuck is not because there's no opportunity, but because your emotions keep rejecting what your spirit has already accepted. You prayed for breakthrough, but when it showed up, your emotions said, it's too risky. You prayed for healing, but when it started happening, your emotions said, I'm not ready to forgive. You prayed for a new season, but your emotions keep dragging you back to the old one. Your emotions speak from what's behind you, but your spirit is always calling you forward. That's why peace often feels uncomfortable at first. It's not familiar to your emotions. Chaos feels normal because that's what your emotions are used to. But peace is the language of your spirit. Growth feels painful to your emotions because it's stretching you beyond your past. But your spirit sees it as preparation for your future. When you make choices from your emotions, you repeat history. When you make choices from your spirit, you create destiny. Your emotions will tell you, you've never done this before. And your spirit will say, that's exactly why you must. Your emotions will cry, what if you fail? And your spirit will whisper, what if you fly? Your emotions will remember the pain, but your spirit will remind you of the promise. So many people are living trapped in emotional time machines. They look grown on the outside, but are still controlled by feelings from 10 years ago. But your spirit doesn't live in time, it lives in truth. It knows that every new season requires a new level of courage, a new level of trust, a new level of obedience. And it's only when you stop letting your emotions dictate your decisions that your life finally starts to move forward. Your emotions can only repeat what they've known, but your spirit can create what has never been seen. Your emotions echo your history, but your spirit announces your prophecy. Your emotions live in memory, but your spirit lives in vision. That's why when you feel fear before a big move, it's often a sign that your spirit is leading you into unfamiliar territory, where your emotions have no record, but your destiny is waiting. There are moments in life when your emotions become so loud that you can't hear yourself think. You're torn between decisions. Your heart says one thing, your mind says another. And peace feels like a stranger. That's when you must understand the difference between being led by your emotions and being guided by your spirit. Emotions are noisy, impulsive, and easily swayed by the moment. They respond to pressure, to pain, to pleasure, to people's opinions. But your spirit doesn't shout. it whispers. It speaks from a deeper place, a place that's calm even in chaos. And the challenge for most people is not that their spirit isn't speaking, it's that their emotions are drowning it out. Think about how many times you made a decision because you were angry only to regret it later. You said words that you didn't mean, burned bridges that took years to build, and reacted to temporary feelings in permanent ways. That's what emotions do. They demand immediate action without considering long-term consequence. But your spirit is patient. It waits. It sees the whole picture. It doesn't react to what's happening now. It responds to what's eternal. That's why when your emotions are confused, your spirit becomes your compass. The spirit doesn't change when circumstances shift. It stays consistent even when everything around you is uncertain. You can see this in everyday life. Someone gets offended at work and quits the job without a plan. Another person faces rejection and closes their heart to love forever. A friend gets misunderstood and walks away from people who truly cared. Emotions convince them that leaving was freedom, but later they discover they left peace behind too. Your emotions can convince you that escape is healing, but your spirit knows that healing only comes through understanding. Your spirit will often lead you to stay when your emotions want to run, to listen when your emotions want to shout, to wait when your emotions want to rush. When you operate from your emotions, your perspective becomes cloudy. You can't see clearly because emotions distort truth. Fear magnifies danger that isn't even there. Anger paints everyone as an enemy. Jealousy turns friends into competitors. Sadness makes tomorrow look hopeless. But your spirit sees beyond perception. It sees truth. It knows that not every delay is denial, not every disagreement is betrayal, not every no is rejection. Sometimes what your emotions call a setback, your spirit recognizes as preparation. Sometimes what hurts now is building you for what's next. The spirit can discern what emotions cannot. Imagine being in a storm. The waves are crashing, the wind is screaming, visibility is zero. That's what it's like when emotions are in control. You're tossed from one thought to another, reacting to every gust of feeling. But deep beneath the surface of the ocean, the water is calm, still, unmoved. That's your spirit. The deeper you live from that place, the less the surface noise can shake you. Your emotions might still rise and fall, but you won't be controlled by them. You'll begin to move through life with quiet confidence instead of constant confusion. One of the biggest signs of spiritual maturity is learning how to pause. People who are emotionally driven respond immediately. People who are spiritually guided take time to listen. Before reacting, they check inward. Is this my emotion talking? Or is this my spirit guiding? That pause can save relationships, careers, and even destinies. Because sometimes what feels urgent in emotion isn't important in spirit. Sometimes silence is the most powerful response. When you learn to pause, you give your spirit room to speak, and it always speaks with wisdom. Your spirit guides you through intuition, peace, and clarity. Peace is its language. When something is right, your spirit gives you peace even if it's hard. When something is wrong, your spirit takes away peace even if it looks good. That's why you can walk into a room and instantly feel discomfort without anyone saying a word. That's why you can meet an opportunity that seems perfect on paper, but something inside you says, don't do it. That's the spirit protecting you from what your emotions can't see. Emotions are moved by appearance. The spirit is moved by alignment. The spirit doesn't care how impressive something looks. It only cares whether it fits your purpose. Many people today confuse emotional excitement with spiritual confirmation. Just because something feels thrilling doesn't mean it's right. Emotions are addictive. They crave stimulation. That's why people chase relationships that make them feel alive, but leave them empty. That's why they pursue dreams that look glamorous, but drain their peace. The spirit doesn't chase hype, it seeks harmony. When you're guided by spirit, you may not always feel excitement, but you'll always feel right. You'll walk in decisions that make sense in silence. You'll step into opportunities that align with your growth, not just your comfort. The Spirit will often lead you through peace in the middle of confusion. You'll be surrounded by chaos, yet something inside you feels settled. You might not have all the answers, but there's a quiet knowing that says, keep walking. That's the Spirit's assurance. It doesn't promise you won't face storms. It promises you won't drown. It doesn't remove uncertainty. It gives you direction within it. The more you listen to that inner peace, the more confident you become, not in your emotions, but in your discernment. You can't hear your spirit when your emotions are in control, because emotions love drama. They exaggerate everything. They make small problems look massive and turn temporary discomfort into a crisis. That's why you must learn stillness. Stillness isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's the space where you allow the dust of emotion to settle so truth can appear. When you quiet your emotions, your spirit begins to rise. When you stop reacting, you start discerning. And in that place of calm, decisions become clear, timing becomes obvious, and peace becomes natural. In your daily life, moments will test this. You'll face arguments, disappointments, unexpected changes. Your emotions will tell you to panic, to retaliate, to quit. But your spirit will whisper, be still. Wait, watch. And if you obey that voice, you'll see how often peace was the answer all along. The guidance of the Spirit doesn't always make sense in the moment, but it always makes sense in the outcome. Your emotions live for now, but your spirit lives for what's next. And if you trust that still, quiet voice within you, it will lead you exactly where you're meant to go, even when you don't understand how. Emotional maturity is not about never feeling hurt, angry, or afraid. It's about mastering those feelings instead of letting them master you. Most people think maturity comes with age, but that's not true. Some people grow older without ever growing up emotionally. They react the same way they did 10 years ago, shouting when angry, withdrawing when hurt, quitting when challenged. Emotional maturity means learning how to respond instead of react, how to stay steady when life shakes you, and how to remain calm when everything around you is chaotic. It's a strength that doesn't always roar. It's the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, and I refuse to be moved by what's temporary. When your emotions are untrained, they become your greatest enemy. They will talk you out of blessings, destroy relationships, and sabotage opportunities. How many times have you seen someone lose their temper at work and ruin their credibility? How many friendships have been broken because someone couldn't control their pride? How many marriages have ended because emotions were louder than love? When you live emotionally, you live recklessly. You live reacting to the moment instead of responding with purpose. But emotional maturity teaches you to pause before speaking, to breathe before deciding, and to think before reacting. That pause is the difference between peace and regret. Life will always present situations that trigger your emotions. Someone will offend you, lie about you, or misunderstand you. You can't control what others do, but you can control your reaction. That control is spiritual power. The moment you stop letting people dictate your mood, you rise into spiritual stability. Emotional people are controlled by circumstances. Spiritual people control their atmosphere. When you are spiritually grounded, no matter what storm comes, you remain steady. You don't deny your emotions, you discipline them. You allow yourself to feel, but you don't allow those feelings to drive your destiny. Emotional maturity means choosing peace, even when chaos would be justified. It's walking away from an argument, not because you're weak, but because you value your energy. It's forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it, not for their sake, but for your freedom. It's understanding that silence can be more powerful than shouting. Maturity doesn't mean you suppress emotion. It means you express it wisely. You don't let anger become bitterness. You don't let disappointment become discouragement. You take the emotion, process it, and use it as fuel to grow. A spiritually mature person understands that emotions are indicators, not dictators. They show you what's happening inside, but they don't decide what happens next. If you feel jealousy, it's not a reason to hate someone. It's an opportunity to reflect on your own insecurities. If you feel anger, it's not permission to lash out. It's a sign that something needs to be addressed. If you feel fear, it's not a command to stop. It's an invitation to build courage. Emotional maturity is when you stop blaming your feelings and start managing them. In daily life, emotional maturity shows up in the smallest moments. It's when you wake up frustrated but still choose gratitude. It's when you feel like giving up but still keep going. It's when you want to argue but choose peace. You start realizing that you don't have to attend every battle your emotions invite you to. You can let some things go. You can walk away from drama without explanation. You can choose not to react to everything that's said about you. Because every time you do, you protect your peace. And peace is the ultimate sign of spiritual maturity. Think about a tree during a storm. The wind bends it, the rain hits it, the branches shake, but the roots stay deep. That's what spiritual stability looks like. You may be shaken, but you're not broken. You may cry, but you don't collapse. You may bend, but you don't break. Emotional maturity gives you roots that feelings can't uproot. When you're grounded in your spirit, you don't need everyone to understand you. You just need to understand yourself. You no longer chase validation or approval. You no longer beg for attention or acceptance. You know your value, and you protect your peace like treasure. People who are emotionally unstable blame others for their feelings. You made me angry, you hurt me, you ruined my day. But emotional maturity says, I choose how I respond. Nobody can make you feel small unless you give them permission. Nobody can ruin your peace unless you open the door. You learn to take responsibility for your reactions. That's power. You stop waiting for people to change and start mastering yourself. The moment you take ownership of your emotions, you become unstoppable. When you live from your spirit, you realize that stability doesn't mean life gets easier. It means you get stronger. You still face disappointment, but you don't let it define you. You still encounter rejection, but you don't see it as defeat. You understand that every test is building endurance. Every challenge is shaping wisdom, and every emotion is a chance to grow deeper. Emotional maturity is when you stop seeking comfort and start embracing growth. It's when you understand that maturity is not about avoiding storms, but learning how to stay calm inside them. Look at the people who have peace. They're not the ones who have perfect lives. They're the ones who have learned how to master themselves. They've learned how to be calm when things fall apart, how to smile when life is uncertain, how to trust when the future is unclear. That kind of peace doesn't come from money, success, or applause. It comes from spiritual discipline. It comes from choosing self-control over impulse, patience over frustration, wisdom over reaction. Everyday life will test your maturity. Someone will test your patience. Something will challenge your peace. You'll feel emotions rise, fear, anger, sadness, doubt. But in that moment, you'll have a choice. Do you react or do you respond? Do you let your feelings drive or do you let your spirit lead? Emotional maturity is the invisible strength that separates those who survive from those who rise. It's what keeps you grounded when life shakes, focused when life distracts, and peaceful when life disappoints. It's not about what happens to you, it's about what happens in you. Because when your spirit is stable, your emotions submit, your heart finds balance, and your mind becomes clear. There comes a point in every person's life where you have to stop living as a victim of your emotions and start living as a master of your spirit. You have to decide that your peace is more valuable than your pride, that your destiny is more important than your drama, and that your future deserves more than your feelings. You've cried enough tears over temporary moments. You've wasted enough energy fighting battles that didn't build you. Now it's time to rise, not with noise, not with rage, but with wisdom. The strongest people are not those who shout the loudest, but those who can stand still and smile when the storm is raging. Your emotions were never meant to rule your life. They were meant to serve as signs, signals that tell you what's happening inside, not commands that control what you do next. You can feel angry without becoming anger. You can feel fear without becoming fearful. You can feel pain without becoming broken. You are not what you feel. You are the one who decides what to do with what you feel. That's power. That's growth. That's mastery. Life will not wait for your emotions to stabilize, but your spirit can stabilize you for life. Sometimes, peace doesn't mean that everything is calm around you. It means everything is calm within you. The world can be on fire, but your spirit can still whisper, "It is well." That's the place of power. That's where great people are born, inside storms that others run away from. Don't let your emotions trick you into quitting. You are closer to your breakthrough than your feelings will ever admit. The moment you feel the greatest pressure is often the moment right before transformation. Your emotions want comfort, but your spirit wants growth. Growth always feels uncomfortable because you are outgrowing what no longer fits you. You must learn to tell yourself in moments of weakness, "I will not allow temporary feelings to destroy permanent blessings." Say it when you feel like giving up. Say it when people disappoint you. Say it when the journey feels long. Because your emotions will tell you to quit, but your purpose will tell you to keep walking. Every time you rise above your feelings, you build strength that no one can take away. Every time you choose peace over reaction, you become a little more unshakable. Every time you forgive when you could have fought back, you rise a little higher. Your spirit carries wisdom that emotions cannot understand. It speaks in silence, it moves in peace, and it shines in storms. When you are led by your spirit, you don't need validation from anyone. You already know who you are. When you are guided by your spirit, you don't chase what's flashy, you follow what's true. And when you are grounded in your spirit, no rejection can define you, no failure can destroy you, and no emotion can deceive you. Life will test you again and again. It will test your patience, your peace, your control. But every test is an opportunity to prove that you are stronger than how you feel. Don't let the noise of the world silence the voice of your spirit. Don't let the temporary waves of emotion drown the quiet strength that lives inside you. Every day you wake up, remind yourself, "I am not my emotions. I am not my past. I am not my pain. I am purpose in motion." The world doesn't need more emotional people. It needs more stable spirits. People who can stand firm when everything shakes. People who can bring calm when others panic. People who can walk through fire and still carry peace. You were not created to be ruled by emotion. You were created to rule from within. Let your emotions serve you, but let your spirit lead you. Because the greatest victory in life is not when you conquer others, it's when you conquer yourself. The greatest success is not found in applause, it's found in inner peace. And the most powerful person in any room is not the loudest, it's the one who remains calm under pressure. You can feel everything without losing yourself in anything. You can walk through storms and still carry sunshine. You can face disappointment and still choose gratitude. That's the mark of a person led by spirit, not emotion. So rise up today. Stand taller than your feelings. Speak louder than your fears. Believe deeper than your doubts. The same storms that come to break you can build you if your spirit stays steady. The same pain that comes to destroy you can develop you if your spirit stays focused. Every tear you've cried is watering the garden of your strength. Every emotion you've endured is teaching you balance, power, and perspective. You are becoming unshakable, not because life got easier, but because your spirit got stronger. The calm within you is greater than the chaos around you. And once you truly understand that, nothing in this world will ever have the power to move you again.